Um, yeah, so hey, welcome everybody to the Roberson Rebellion, episode 2. And this is your Rebels Guide to Pop Culture and Gaming. I'm your host, Sean Owen Roberson, aka Rebel One. So welcome all you Rebels. And I would like to invite you to enlist in the Rebellion. Join me every week for live interactive episodes. Subscribe to the channel, destroy the like button, and share the channel with your friends. And I'm thinking it might be good, if you're seeing this afterwards and we're like, man, I missed it. That kind of sucks. You might want to hit that bell icon. I think that's kind of like, a gimmick most of the time when I watch different YouTube channels, but it might be useful for this one because I really like to do live chat with fans and talk about whatever it is that the subject of the week is, or an interview or whatever. We want to be able to have, I want to be able to have live questions and answers and stuff. Let's see. Is the volume pretty good for you guys? Can you hear me clearly? I do have some music playing low volume, but I just want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. Chat. Wait for a second. So, just to acknowledge who we've got in chat here, we've got Disco Corpse, Rob Toll, Caleb Nelson, Venatus Vinco. I think that's everybody so far. So yeah, this is going well. Okay, great. I fixed it. That was good for the music volume. Great. Thank you guys. Wanted to say today's topic, we're going to be talking about the secrets of Baby Yoda, the Mandalorian, and storytelling. As a short review, last week I launched this channel and I unboxed the Rifts products from the American Armageddon Kickstarter, and we announced a new world book, Atlantis and the Demon Seas, and a new 32-page supplement, the Coalition Data File for Humanity. So we're looking at doing future smaller supplements like data files and survival guides and stuff like that, depending on what the theme is for the supplement. So I answered a lot of questions last week, and there were a few that I wasn't able to get to or I didn't see because we just had so many people participating in chat, which was awesome. I think at the peak we had 76 people live, which was pretty sweet. Let's see. So the first question that I want to answer is it's from, I think, Airbay 2000. Will the Tomorrow Legion's influence extend to other parts of Rift's Earth? Yeah, that's the idea as we move forward with the campaign, especially as we move forward with the world books. It's going to be how it's always going to have a big core concept is going to be how the Tomorrow Legion interacts with whatever region or threats or allies might be in that area. And future supplements will continue to expand the stories you can tell with the Tomorrow Legion. And we'd like a lot of them to be meaningful, so that as you go through the adventures, you're going to have a great time and make a difference in the world and tell your own story, your own version of Savage Rifts, of Rifts for Savage Worlds. Or, it's funny, I've gotten a lot of comments lately. There's a lot of Palladium, people who are still using the old Palladium system. For those of you who don't know, Savage Worlds, we've licensed, Pinnacle Entertainment, we've licensed the Rifts intellectual property from Palladium Books, from Kevin Simbita, the creator. And those books are still out there. So a lot of people are telling me they love buying the Savage Rifts books, and they're buying the Palladium books. And I expected that kind of from the Savage Rifts fans, because we're not trying to replace those books. But what's interesting is to see that there are people that are Palladium fans and are still using the Palladium system, and they're buying the Savage Rifts books for the adventures and the art and seeing a snapshot of the world in 109 PA. So I think that's really great. I'm glad that everyone's having a great time with it. No matter what kind of die you like rolling, that's pretty cool. So let's see. The second question I got is from AJ Delgado. And he asked, what was the most difficult change to make to the rules? I think, oddly enough, the most difficult change to make to the rules was very mechanical. We play tested a lot of different things, but it was about balancing things like mega damage and AP and how many dice of damage are going to be dealt. Different combat bonuses is very a lot of the mechanics were more difficult in the Adventure Edition. And once we had a chance to kind of review the things that had, how people were playing over the past few years, And so that's something that was, I think, technically the most difficult to change, because we make some last minute changes. I realized through playtesting that we need to take an extra step that I hadn't taken, where we were adding dice of damage to a lot of your personal weaponry, like laser pistols and rifles and stuff like that. And that actually entailed going through, and some AP to a lot of close combat weapons. And so that entailed going through all 1,000 pages. I mean, it's not every page has stat lines for monsters and enemies and stuff like that, but it entailed going through 1,000 pages worth of new books to make sure that we cascaded those changes to all of those new elements. So that was I think the most difficult thing to do. But I think we got it right. I mean, we've been playing. The playtesters seem to really like the changes. I've been playing with it now, and it's been a lot of fun. I think we've got a really great spot there, especially with the new rules for mega damage, where if a non-mega damage target gets hit by mega damage weaponry, they suffer gritty damage. It's been really cool in a lot of ways. It makes it feel very Rifts. Another question I've got from David Vershaw. I hope I'm saying your name correct, David. What was your favorite change? You know, my favorite change, I think, was the update to the Mind Melter and the Leyline Walker. Some of the updates to basically the updates to the different iconic frameworks. And so I feel like we got a lot of really great feedback during the playtest, and we're able to bring a lot of really cool details into the different iconic frameworks. So they feel very unique. They feel iconic, and they're more fun to play, but without becoming something that's overpowered. I see that we have Disco Corpses saying that he's excited about the new Deeper Castle Refuge stuff. Yeah, I am too, and I really want to see if we can do maybe the next supplement that we do, a smaller supplement, maybe a Secrets of Castle Refuge, because I really enjoyed banging around Castle Refuge with my players and running stuff like that. And so I think that there's a lot of cool stuff that we can bring to the table and flesh it out. And I think that that's a lot of untapped story potential, which could influence, obviously, the entire setting, because that's the main difference in 109 PA between, when you read the Savage Rifts books, they're the same thing. They are canon. The only difference from main canon of Rifts for Savage, or for Palladium's Rifts, or it's all Rifts, right? But the only difference in canon is the wrinkle with the Tomorrow Legion. So I think, though, as we finish out the world and we start adventuring into the future, 110, 111, all that, you're going to see that's going to lead to some changes in the alternate timeline that is Savage Rifts. Let's see. Jose Fernando Bellavista asked, he asked some good questions last week too. Any plans for a conversion book for Savage Rifts? The funny thing is, I don't think we need a conversion book for Savage Rifts in general. A lot of the things that were done with the original conversion book for Rifts, for the Palladium Rifts that launched back in 1990, I think conversion book 1 came out in 1991 or so, was that it brought a lot of things like Palladium had the license at the time for Robotech, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They had their own sci-fi, not their own sci-fi, but their own horror settings. They had their own Palladium Fantasy. They had Ninjas and Super Spies and Ninja and martial arts book. They had their superheroes book. So I think that a lot of that you can bring into Rifts, Savage Rifts, pretty easily in the second edition. On page 8 of the Tomorrow Legion Player's Guide, we have a sidebar. What was the name of the sidebar? I can't remember. It's I think it's importing characters or something like that. But anyways, it's on the left of the page, and right there it tells you how to build out your character to make it balanced in the setting. Some people have been playing around with 4 colors superheroes if you're using the Superheroes Companion. I would like to see people try out the Gifted and maybe use that as a superhero engine or something like that. And I just want to see what everyone feels like. If it's overpowered, underpowered. We don't have the new Adventure Edition Super's Companion yet. So once we get that, I think that'll inform a lot more. I'll be able to say, hey, definitively, this is how you can convert these things over. But I really want to wait until we see that product in its final form first. And last question, before we dive into Baby Yoda and all that kind of stuff, is P. Kitty asks, are the Atlantis book and the Coalition book going to be part of the same Kickstarter? No. They are not going to be part of the same Kickstarter. In fact, I don't know if we'll do a Kickstarter for the Coalition book. I don't know if you've noticed, Pinnacle's been putting out a lot of 32-page supplements. And I really want to do that for Rifts. And I think that there's a lot of really cool things that we could explore with those while I try and get through the world books that have already been, cover the highlights of the information that's already been put out there by Palladium Books. So in the meantime, while I basically knock out almost a continent book, we'll see if that keeps happening or how that goes exactly. Then in the meantime, we'll have these 32-page things, and hopefully in the future to help fulfill some of the other, some of those other things that everybody really wants to get to, because I really like to do some Castle Refuge stuff. Map-based campaigns are a big request that we keep getting, so I'd really like to take some of the info that we've got, really great world building we've got from, say, Kingsdale or Merktown, Arsno, and then build them out into campaigns that people can enjoy in a module with some extra gear, some extra items, some extra edges, and a fun plot point campaign, some new art. So I'm really looking forward to that. But those things I don't think are going to be part of Kickstarter campaigns. And so let's talk about The Mandalorian. I wonder if you guys, have you seen it? Because if you haven't seen it, like, super spoilers ahead. It's like, take off now, shut down the video, go watch it. You're doing yourself a favor. It's, or if you don't care, just listen and we'll talk about it a bit. But it's been a really great show. It's been really interesting to watch. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I don't know if you see my poster back here. And I've got all types of stuff. In my mug collection, I have a Freeze Rebel Scum mug with a Stormtrooper on it. One of my favorites. So, anyhow, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and I've been, some of the new stuff I like. Some of the stuff I'm not really into. Oh, thanks, Caleb. I can see you're checking out. You don't want spoilers. I get it, buddy. So, I really like the original Star Wars trilogy. Huge fan. Ever since I was a kid, a baby almost. I was a toddler, basically, 3. And I've always loved it. The new movies that have come out by Disney have been really interesting. And I think a lot of fans seem to either hate them all or love them all. I'm more in the middle. I thought 7 was good. I thought it was an interesting reboot. I really wanted to know what happened to the characters as it moved on. Didn't like 8 as much. I liked 9. Was it perfect? No. And Disco Corp says such a mixed bag, and I agree. It's been a really mixed bag, and I know they're trying to right the ship and level things out. I appreciate that. Solo was okay. I didn't feel like the main actor really had the chops to. You're reprising Harrison Ford, basically, and that's really hard to do. So I don't feel like that really worked for me. Although it was not a terrible movie. It wasn't as bad as its box office results would say. I think part of that is people were just really upset after episode 8. Anyways, to get to The Mandalorian, though, there's been a couple of ones that I really liked. I thought Rogue One was great. It had some structural problems with the story a bit, but overall, it was a really great movie. And then I've loved The Mandalorian. And when I was studying design and production at the University of Texas in Dallas, one of the things, I went back to school after getting out of the military, and one of the things that I took a lot of courses in was writing and narrative and design, but also reading media critically, including movies and television shows, the ethics of visuals and visual storytelling, or what you show in photography or different things like that. And so it was a real chance to really dig in with some educated people that were able to show me a lot about what's going on behind the scenes and what these different things mean to us. I don't always agree with everything that was said or taught, but I find it very enlightening to see how some people might interpret some of it. For Baby Yoda, the big question is, why does everyone love Baby Yoda, right? I mean, it's this crazy thing where people have just gone gaga over it, and I think there's a couple of things going on. I think some of the storytelling that's going on between the Baby Yoda character, it's not his official name, we don't know it yet, and the Mandalorian. I think there's some similarities there between the two characters, because a lot of times as a storyteller you want to drop all this information all at once. But with Baby Yoda, they've chosen something that's really interesting. And for instance, Yoda, the character, George Lucas has always made the race mysterious. He's never let anyone expand on it too much in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, like the novels and comic books and all that type of stuff. And we don't even have an official name for that race. And so that part starts with a big veil of mystery for that character, and they haven't dropped much more info. We've started to get the personality of the child. That's the official name of the character, I think, right now is the child. But yeah, they just we know more about his characteristics as a character. And, is he loving? Is he caring? Is he trying to help people? Is he curious? All these different things than we do about any other thing else about his background. Then there's the Mandalorian himself, and the Mandalorian himself is a very American trope, I would say, and he's part of the Western trope. It also shares a lot of similarities with the samurai tropes. If you watched any of the old samurai movies, like Yojimbo and Hidden Fortress and I think Rashomon and stuff like that. So and a lot of those have come over. Like we have the Magnificent Seven. They had the Seven Samurai. So the westerns, Akira Kurosawa and different Western filmmakers influenced each other. It was really cool. And so one of the things that's going, exactly, Disco Corpse, that's exactly the place I was going. Why does this combo work with the two characters, Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian? And Disco Corpse said, it's Lone Wolf and Cub, and he's absolutely right. That was my next note on my list. The combo works because it's a play on the Wolf and Cub samurai story that, similar to so many of the stories that have influenced Star Wars. If you've seen those movies, they're really great. And I think part of it is the juxtaposition of the two characters is really, really neat. You have, I don't know if you've heard of a foil. So a foil in storytelling is when you have one character that's meant to highlight the characteristics of a different character. And so when that really comes down to it, without it, how I put this, Luke Skywalker is a cool character. Han Solo is a cool character, but when you put them together in the same scenes, they act as foils for each other because they are very different types of hero archetypes, and they really play off of each other, and it creates very interesting scenes. And I think the same thing happens when you have this grizzled bounty hunter and warrior, and mix that with a defenseless but actually mysteriously powerful child. And so as that started to get introduced, it really ramped up the tension that's basic there in the kind of smuggler or outlaw with a heart that you see from a lot of Western or Ronin stories from the samurai legacy. So I wonder, does anyone have any questions right now before we get into what I think is kind of the core here? I wonder if anybody has any questions or anything they want to say about the besides. I see Rob says it's an enjoyable show. Yes. Yeah, I think that's an understatement. It's great. It's a little bit of delay here, so I'll give people a chance to see if they have any questions. Well, I'll just go ahead, and if you guys have questions, please chime in, because I'm about to go into what I think how it might apply to us if we are, say, gamers or storytellers, even if we just want to tell a story to a kid or write a story for our games or something like that. So why is this so compelling? Well, I think part of it is that this really is tapping into why is this, and this is similar to why the Rogue One movie is so popular. So Star Wars has a lot of influences, and so some of those are westerns. Some of those are war movies. Some of them are high adventure or what would you call it? Your traditional kind of legendary tales of heroes that are very common from the Joseph Campbell's writings, if you guys know about that, with the hero's journey. But I think that one of the things that The Mandalorian and Rogue One did very well is they struck out on their own because they didn't try and do the entire Star Wars mashup at the same time. What they did do is Rogue One went and told a war story, kind of like a lot of the old Dirty Dozen type of stories that you get that are very popular for war movies. And then I think The Mandalorian went a really different track, and it moved towards, it focused on the Western. We always had, Boba Fett was always a very Western, samurai-influenced, Ronin-influenced type character. And so I think that that's how they remain Star Wars, but are able to strike out and be something new at the same time. But at the same time, there's something very familiar. There's something that people want to see more of, even if they don't realize it. And a lot of times I think we enjoy a lot of these aspects without completely realizing that, hey, the part of the reason I like this is the same reason that I like the movie The Dirty Dozen or something. But let's see, I do have some questions here. Do I think the comedy was ill-placed? The bickering scout troopers. Yeah, I think that, actually, that's a really good point. And again, as Disco Corpse and Vinaz Vinko says he was bugged too. I agree. I think that one of the mistakes they made in the original Star Wars trilogy, even if the stormtroopers seem to keep missing, the heroes never seem to think that, right? The heroes always seem to take it all very seriously, and I think it's kind of funny, but it was a disservice. Maybe it should have been some troops that they hired, or maybe it should have been communicated that we knew that these weren't real stormtroopers. But I thought it was a bit over the top with the stormtroopers trying to shoot the can and all that type of stuff. Now, of course, they start hitting Baby Yoda, you get furious. So we can enjoy that part of it. But I think they did a little bit of a disservice to the nature of that episode a little bit. It was a very serious episode, and I know they wanted to put something in there to break the tension a little bit, but I think it was well placed, but I think it maybe shouldn't have been stormtroopers so over the top about the stormtroopers and their, a cliche about their aim. It could have been something else, and I think been just as funny. Let's see. So the big thing that I think is really compelling here that we can take away from it as gamers and stuff like that, especially, or people that just enjoy certain genres of storytelling and want to understand why they enjoy it maybe a little more, is this is very similar to the zombie genre. So, which is also kind of a Western, but that's the main thing, is Dungeons and Dragons, most role-playing games are Westerns. A lot of the heroes that we like are actually placed in situations where there are different perils to face. It might be zombies, it could be Cthulhu, it could be all these other things, right? It could be moving from town to town as an outlaw gunslinger, ex-Confederate soldier or Union soldier, Ronin samurai, very similar themes there. But what happens, what they end up is they usually end up further, either civilization has collapsed or they're further from civilization. And the heroes must, while they have things, they physical challenges or threats, their actual level of ability with physical violence and their potential to enact violence actually makes them de facto arbiters or judges. It makes them judges in the situation, because usually they're drawn into unjust situations that they become embroiled with, whether they want to or not. Usually you have the reluctant hero. A lot of times you have the reluctant hero. Sometimes you don't. But a lot of times if they want to play it for a little drama, it's a standard thing to have a reluctant hero that doesn't necessarily want to get involved with things, just like Luke Skywalker didn't want to leave and join the rebellion at first. He was thinking of it the way his uncle thought. Han Solo didn't want to get involved, right? These are people that are reluctant heroes that finally join the cause. Then the other thing that happens is when they're left alone in these situations, they usually find that there are people that they have to protect. There's someone that's perpetrating wrongs. The strong are hurting the weak. And so then these heroes are forced to make tough decisions. They have to get involved, and a lot of times these are exercises in gray morality. So the really good stories, and you'll notice if it doesn't stick with you, a lot of times there weren't difficult choices. The heroes weren't flawed enough. They seemed too two-dimensional. As one of the things with the Han Solo character in the Solo movie. Or it doesn't make sense, you know. The character's arc doesn't make sense if they have an arc. A lot of times in these movies, the character may not have a large arc, a large personal arc. So I mean, it's starting to happen in The Mandalorian. We can see that in the first 12 episodes, or not? Is it 12? Anyways, however many episodes. But the good stories show us a lot of gray morality, difficult choices, and maybe hubris, the weaknesses of good guys and bad guys, right? In that story. And so I think one of the things to remember is to look out for that. Why is that, maybe why do you like that anti-hero? What is so compelling about this anti-hero versus the hero, right? I mean, this has happened a lot in say, The Walking Dead. It happens, I think, in The Mandalorian. We all want to know what's going on with certain characters, or characters that, like Grief Karga, who are sometimes allies, sometimes not. You can't always trust them, and I think that this makes for very suspenseful, interesting storytelling where the viewer is having an experience while they watch it. Not just the visceral, wow, we've got really great special effects. I mean, The Mandalorian has really pioneered a lot of really great special effects. I don't know if you've seen, they're using Unreal technology to build a room. I got to get a green screen so I can show you guys some of this stuff while I'm talking about it. But they actually are using these LED light rooms and walls to project everything as a backdrop, so that they can film a lot. They can film a lot of scenes where they don't have to necessarily be on the location for some of the secondary B-roll footage or secondary shots or background shots. Yeah, it's been really great, and so I'm really excited about seeing more of it, and I'm excited about taking some of these lessons and using it to improve my personal. I'm a writer, to improve my personal writing and storytelling, because I think that it's something that we can all gain a lot out of if we start seeing the tropes, tvtropes.org. I don't know if you've been to that website, but the tropes and the different storytelling techniques that are going on. I think that we can gain a deeper understanding of why we like something, why we don't like something, what's good cinema, what's good storytelling, what isn't. So that's my main thing here. I just want to talk about that for a little bit. We've already gone on over 30 minutes, so I just wanted to kind of go into that a little bit, because I think it's an interesting part of storytelling. I think it's very applicable to the genre that I write in, which is about heroes, usually wandering heroes in role-playing games, trying to right wrongs and solve problems, and it can inform my writing, role playing that everyone does, and all, those things. And we all love Star Wars. Hopefully, we can see some more great Star Wars shows. I have a comment from Venatus Vinco that he loves the concept art that they show after each episode, and I think that's really great too. They obviously have a lot of really talented. Oh man, I am so jealous of the talented artists they have available. Oh man, I can get them to make art for a book for me. Whew. But they have some great art. They have great storytelling, and I think that we've got some more comments here. Hey, Brandon Verhalen, no problem, man. It's you got a little late, but you can watch it afterwards, and we can still answer questions and stuff. But yeah, the storyboards let you know that they really know what they're doing with the storytelling. It's not like they're just winging it on the set. And it's all been written by Jon Favreau, so that's pretty cool too. And very closely working with Dave Filoni, who, if you don't know, he's behind a lot of things from LucasArts and Lucasfilm, but he's behind the Clone Wars. So looking forward to Star Wars marching forward with these really great storytellers at the helm. I don't know if everybody knows this, but one of the really interesting things is that a lot of the episodes I think most of the episodes of The Mandalorian were actually directed by different filmmakers. So, for instance, the one with the ATST was actually filmed by, I forget her name. She was in the new Jurassic Park movies, opposite Chris Pratt, and I can't remember her name right now. I wish I put it in my notes. And she was also a director. So when she filmed it using a lot of the same techniques that they used in Jurassic Park. And that's why the ATST kind of feels like a dinosaur, like some hunting monster. So I have a question about the Cara Dune character. I liked her, but she kind of just passed in and out. Is that a trope? I think it is a trope. I've read a lot of... so here's the other thing. A lot of post-apocalyptic fiction, if you get a hold of it, there's some good stuff out there. There's a lot of time... Bryce Dallas Howard, thank you for checking that out, Disco Corps. I greatly appreciate it. Yes, she did an amazing bang-up job on that episode, for instance. The Cara Dune character I think that it's a character that's obviously a secondary character. She's not going to be in every episode, but I think we're going to keep seeing her. I think she's going to keep coming back, and she's going to keep getting developed. And I think that is a trope of a lot of these kind of stories, where you have, whether it's a zombie movie or show, or I've read a post-apocalyptic series of books, and a lot of times you'll have that, where you have these recurring characters or allies that could show up. And so I think it's really great for the storytelling, and it shows that that the main character, even though it might rely on the main character being, or the main two characters being on their own sometimes for different stories to be told, it also means that you have recurring themes that can happen. And again, when we think of the concept of foils, her character it was part of the rebellion, right, and was fighting the Empire, and so she actually has morals, as opposed to some sort of morals. She was a drop trooper, and so that again, her motivations, and also her femininity, and talking about Baby Yoda just with a little more knowledge of, you've got a kid you need to take care of, then the Mandalorian wasn't really cued into that quite as much at that moment. That those characters again can act as really strong foils for the main character if there's a certain theme that's being explored in an episode, which happens a lot, I think. And I did like how they build up their friendship, and she's not just a love interest. If she ever becomes a love interest, I don't know if she will. There is kind of those vibes, but I got, in, for instance, the episode with the ATST, I got more of the feeling that the love interest, obviously, there was the mother in the village. But and I think that it's great that it's just a strong character. It's not about her being male or female, and she's not just reduced to something really simple like that. It's a really just strong character. So I like strong characters. I like strong male characters, strong female characters. You can't see it over here. I've got a poster. One of my favorite movies is Aliens, and I mean, when you start analyzing that movie and the themes going on between Ripley and Newt, and then the alien queen and her eggs, and it's basically a big mama battle. It's really interesting. So it would be really, it would be cool. I've got some comments about maybe she could have maybe her own show, or maybe some of her own episodes in the future. I think that would be great too, and that's another strength of this kind of storytelling. Then you can cycle in other characters and get to see the galaxy maybe from their point of view. And yes, for instance, Disco Corp says recurring wandering sidekicks seem like a Witcher thing too. Absolutely, The Witcher is definitely a medieval Western, just like a lot of the Dungeons and Dragons, good Dungeons and Dragons stories at least, are medieval Westerns in a similar way. I think especially The Witcher is a great example, because similar to the Mandalorian, or Cara Dune and these other characters who, or the Ronin, the Severin Samurai, right? They had to get involved with something that was happening. They wanted out. They wanted to not be pulled into it, but they just couldn't help it. They knew. The same thing in The Witcher. You get involved in a lot of really gray moral decisions. There's a lot of hubris, a lot of human weakness on display, just as in a lot of Westerns, and then a lot of these other same themes. So that, these are just examples of how you can take those themes and say, oh, I really like this character in this, or this and this, and you can use those as a springboard. You can riff on those ideas yourself in your own storytelling, and you can, maybe have a little greater enjoyment of these things. Well, I think we're done. I just wanted to get that out there. It was something that was kind of rattling around in my head. I really wanted to get out there. If there's anyone who has any more questions about riffs for Savage Worlds, since that's a big thing for me, please post them in the comments below, and I'll see if I can get to a few more of them. I'll maybe start each week with a little bit of an update or answering questions people might have. And let's see. I didn't watch the Witcher show. I'm only familiar with the games right now. I haven't watched the show, so Rob was commenting on the negative reviews for the show. I can't really say much on it. So what I'm referring to is actually what I experienced in the games, which I thought was great storytelling. It's just good storytelling is good storytelling, right? Yeah, and leave comments if you have any questions about Baby Yoda, about the Mandalorian, about any opinions you might have. Maybe you disagree, or you have other things you'd like to add to what I've talked about in this episode. Please knock those out in the comments, and I'll definitely pick up on those at the beginning of each episode. I hope that that I can see more of you guys live. It's great to have all these fans here with me, and I also, let me know what you want to see, because I'm thinking about doing some interviews. I'd really like to do at least an interview a month or so. And so if you guys have anybody that you'd like me to interview, I mean, obviously, most people will say like Shane Hensley. I know. I'd love to get Shane on here too. Yeah, those are some things that I'm looking forward to. So just let me know in the comments what you'd like to see me talk about in future episodes, and not just me talk about, but us discuss live. And for me to answer questions on in the comments afterwards. Yeah, let's see. I have some other comments. When will you do more crazy variants? Kind of like the juicer variants. That's going to be coming in Europe when we get to Europe. I don't know exactly how I'm going to divide all of that up, but that's that, and I think we're going to see some of those in South America as well too. But you'll see those. Not the next book, not in Atlantis, but in the upcoming books. Yeah, I've also got Disco Corp's commenting that we've got some great books for The Witcher as well. So I've heard the same thing. So I definitely encourage anyone to go out there and check out those books, check out the games, if you want to see some great storytelling in a Western fashion. Another one that I liked was Brunner the Bounty Hunter from the Black Library. He was awesome. And a very, very Fistful of Dollars Clint Eastwood type character. but that's, you know, there's similarities to the Mandalorian. We also have similarities to a lot of the stories that we've got in Savage Rifts and other games. That's one of the things that I like about Savage Worlds, is a lot of times there's tough choices to make and really interesting situations that the games put you in. So again, check out Savage Rifts and other games for more of that. But anyways, well, that's it for this week. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. I'll be announcing the theme soon, and I'll post it up here so we can see it upcoming. And yeah, you guys have a great week, and stay safe. Wash your hands. Coronavirus is pretty rough right now, so be safe. And I know that some of my viewers are older, some are younger. So if you're younger, especially, please make sure that you are safe and practice social distancing, because I've just heard some stories about coming out of Europe where there's not all the young people are as immune to the virus as we think, and some of them might already be. You maybe don't know someone is immunocompromised or something in one way or another. You may not know that because maybe they've rebounded from something that was really tough when they were younger, or even more recently. And so yeah, just keep that in mind. It's not just about the elderly or the older people. It's also, there are younger people that are at risk here. So anyways, I'll check you guys later. Have a great week.